It seems predictable that someone like me would come out and say the Biden administration is failing us. But I can't just sit here claiming it's a coincidence that so much is going wrong. As soon as Donald Trump leaves, we get all of these major catastrophes. Sorry. We can actually see how the Biden administration is either ignoring this, lying about it, or causing some of the problems. The U.S. just got hit by one of the most significant cyber attacks in history. The largest oil pipeline in the country has been shut down. There are gas shortages, lines of cars going down the street, gas stations shutting down, and a fear that gas prices are now going to spike, when in fact they already were even before this cyber attack. What is the Biden administration saying they're going to do? Well, it's a private company, so they're going to have to deal with it. We've got inflation hitting right now. People are panicking. As I mentioned, gas prices going up. Food prices are also going up. We're seeing photos and videos of signs on doors of businesses of people saying, we won't work here anymore. We refuse. Why? Well, the left will tell you it's because these are not living wages. They're not entirely wrong, but the problem is the mass spending of money is resulting in inflation, which means that $15 an hour ain't going to cut it anymore. You're not going to be able to buy your groceries. Now the Biden administration is offering up the equivalent of $16 an hour in unemployment. So that means most people will choose not to work. Sorry, that's a Biden administration policy. And many people, even the Chamber of Commerce, are saying this is destroying the economy. You need to stop paying people to not work. They keep doing it. What about the border crisis? The Biden administration, they inherited a somewhat functional border. It wasn't perfect. But Donald Trump shut down some of these child migrant facilities. The Biden administration reopened them. And Biden policies are resulting in a massive pull factor. I'm sorry. I know it is cliche. It is obvious that someone like me, I supported Trump, I voted for Donald Trump, would come out and say it's Biden's fault. Trump was not perfect. Trump's administration had its problems. But all of this is slamming into us right now. At the very least, we rely on strong leadership. We don't have it. Do I blame Joe Biden outright? Not necessarily. I blame the voters. I blame the media. Like I mentioned, we have these lines down the street of these cars. The New York Times says there are no long lines. It's not real. So all these journalists posting these photos and these videos, they must be lying, huh? We're still getting some media telling us the truth. But at the very least, if you want to say it's not Biden's fault, he should be doing more, and he's not effective. And you know why? Because this administration is built upon hatred for Donald Trump, the media's desperate attempts to get the orange man out of office, and people came out and voted for Joe Biden simply because they hated Trump. That does not an administration make. So now we are facing the ramifications of people who didn't like Donald Trump. Oh, and what's this? The ratings for MSNBC and CNN are in the gutter. Yeah, these people are gone. They came in, they voted. It was a drive-by. They came in, said, we don't care, anyone but Trump. And now we are all paying the price. It's funny, in D.C., a viral tweet, they painted over the Black Lives Matter paint mural in the street. No longer necessary. Thanks for coming. We'll see you again in 4 years. And the rest of us pay the price. These people pay the price too. But because they're not paying attention, what'll happen? The media will come out. They'll blame the Republicans. They'll blame Trump. They'll blame anyone but themselves. And the rest of us suffer watching the system rot from the inside out. I didn't know what story to cover today. You know, we've got this crisis in Israel and Gaza. I can't blame Biden for all of that. I understand. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say it's all his fault. But man, the Abraham Accords, Donald Trump's actions in the Middle East, far from perfect, but it was an improvement. And now, coincidentally, everything's getting bad. I watched a video of a 13-story building getting knocked over. I am not happy watching these things. I see this gas shortage. I see the border crisis. All of this news breaking today, and it's just slamming me in the face. And I'm mad about it. Again, it's not all Biden's fault. As I often say, to pay homage to V for Vendetta, if you'd like to see the guilty party, you need only look into a mirror. Now, to be fair, I'm not talking about, for the most part, you or I. We all play a role in this system. Don't get me wrong. We all have some responsibility in the function of this country. But I'm just so fed up with these people who did a political drive-by, coming in, voting for the old man who can barely speak straight. And now we get to sit back and watch as everything goes bad. 2019, amazing economy. Not perfect. Trump was spending like crazy. Well, the bill comes due. Republicans and Democrats alike. Let's read some of these news stories, and I'll just give you the gist of it. The country is in dire straits. Inflation has many people terrified. These gas shortages are freaking people out. You got to understand how bad the inflation is with these people quitting their jobs en masse. It's about to get really bad. So I hope you're paying attention, because you can like Biden, you can hate Biden, you can hate Trump, you can like Trump. Joe Biden is the president. The buck stops with him. Before we get started, head over to timcast.com, click the big old beautiful members only button, and you can sign up to become a member and go to the members area to get access to exclusive members only segments from the Timcast IRL podcast. When you do this, you're supporting my work in the event that we get banned or purged, which is entirely possible. It already happened on Facebook. So I hope you take this seriously. If you like what I do, please consider supporting my work and my company so we can grow at timcast.com. But don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Let's start with this first story, and I'll just go over this one a little bit. The Colonial Pipeline gas shortage, because I did cover it this morning, and I think most of you know the gist of what's happening. But we have this. Long lines. Look at these photos. Look at these videos. Caitlin Penter says, this is the gas station across the street. Long line for gas. Long line. A journalist telling this from WLOS. The emergency declaration in North Carolina will help prepare for any potential motor vehicle fuel supply interruptions. Well, the interruptions are happening. Look how long this pipeline is. All right, let's move on to the next major insane story. Israel to ramp up deadly airstrikes on Gaza as rockets rain down and deaths mount on both sides. I'm going to say it again. I'm not here to blame Joe Biden for what this conflict has been going on for generations. I'm just, man, everything hits at once right now. It's just so surprising to see all of these stories at the same time of just chaos and crisis. And I believe it is absolutely fair to point out the Biden administration is unable to deal with it. Take a look at this story. Border crisis. 5 unaccompanied migrant girls found abandoned in Texas. A farmer said he discovered the baby girls hungry and crying. I don't know which crazy story to bring you. I really don't. Because it's everything hitting at once. I wonder if it would have been any different under Donald Trump. It may have been bad, don't get me wrong. But I have to say, all arguments aside, it's time to stop acting like Trump is here. This is the Biden administration. The things that are happening right now are on Joe Biden. I put out a tweet. I said, I guess build back better means crumbling infrastructure, mass inflation, conflict in the Middle East, a mass exodus from jobs. And I get these people saying, just stupid things about it couldn't possibly be Biden's fault. It all happened so soon. And I'm like, no, this stuff wasn't happening under Trump. We had a pandemic. That was a global international crisis. I'm talking about domestic policy. I'm talking about Joe Biden ending some of the Trump era policies on the border. And now we have a border crisis. I'm talking about Donald Trump shutting down the Homestead child migrant facility and the Biden administration reopening it. These are policies of Joe Biden. I'm talking about Joe Biden promising $300 additional on unemployment, resulting in more hyperinflation. They think they racked up all this debt and they're going to print their money. They're going to print money to find their way out of it. It's not going to work. I hope you guys are paying attention. I don't even know what to read, man. I'm just, I'm sitting here today thinking like, what's the important story? And I think for the most part, it's this work shortage. These signs that are popping up on businesses of people saying they're not going to work here anymore. They're not getting paid enough, not realizing it's not about getting paid enough. It's about inflation. It's about people not paying attention. I think that's the big news. Here's the New York Times. Colonial Pipeline, a vital U.S. fuel artery that was shut down by a cyber attack, said it hoped to restore most operations by the end of the week. Since the shutdown, there have been no long lines or major price hikes for gas. And they just spit in our faces with these lies. It's truly a sight to behold. There are people who believe this. They follow these stories and they think it's true. And the rest of us are watching as the fire engulfs our country, our states, our cities. And these political drive-bys, they just watch it. This is amazing. Katie Herzog tweeted, This is so bizarre. I've called 10 gas stations around Asheville, and not a single one has gas. One person laughed at me when I asked. And yet nothing on current gas shortages on NPR and most other national news sites. How is this not the biggest story in the U.S. right now? Good question. You turn on Fox, they'll tell you. A lot of people are saying the gas shortage is the result of people panic buying. I do not believe that's true. Why only in North Carolina? Why not in other places? No, I think it's obviously disrupting certain areas. If you look over on Twitter, right next to this tweet, it says hashtag gas shortage. Homeland Security Advisor Elizabeth Sherwood Randall says right now there is not a supply shortage of gas following a ransomware attack of Colonial Pipelines, which disrupted the flow of nearly half the gasoline and jet fuel supplies to the East Coast. Not a shortage. As I'm looking at a tweet from Katie Herzog saying 10 gas stations don't have anything. That is the Biden administration lying. That is the media lying. And the people who believe it vote in more of the same. The cost of border crisis falls on the backs of the American taxpayer, says ex-official. From today, all of these stories slamming today. ABC 7. On his trip to the U.S.-Mexico border, Department of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas revealed that hundreds of unaccompanied minors are crossing the border daily. But how much is this costing taxpayers? According to a report from the Washington Post, the Biden administration is spending at least $60 million per week. The bill comes due. These people don't understand what it means when they come out and say it is costing us $60 million per week. They don't get it. They think it means nothing. They think it means, well, the government can print money and pay it. Don't you get it? This is the Biden administration. Reversing Trump policies, causing a bigger crisis, costing us more money while the media lies in our flates. Global markets sell off on inflation fears. This is what it means when they say $60 million per week. It means the cost of bread, milk, eggs, chicken, and gasoline are going to skyrocket. It means regular working Americans who don't have hard assets will see their savings depreciate, will see their wages go down. Now, it's not so obvious. Somebody who's making $10 an hour still thinks they're making $10 an hour. What they don't realize is their buying power is being cut in half every time somebody crosses that border illegally, thanks to Joe Biden. Every time somebody can't go to their job, the economy stagnates, market sell-offs. The ability for you to buy goods you need to support yourself go down. Yahoo Finance. European markets face a dramatic sell-off after Asian and U.S. markets were rocked overnight. Investors are digesting inflationary worries following China's consumer price index falling short of expectations alongside volatile commodity prices. I've been warning about this. All of these pieces are coming together and it's going to result in the same thing. Or it's going to result in a variety of things, but it's all going to slam your dollar, your savings. Why do you think Bitcoin is skyrocketing? Ethereum is skyrocketing. They say the FTSE 100 moved 2.6% lower by the closing bell in London. You know what I find particularly funny about this? I pulled up this story to talk about the inflation fears and the market sell-off and what this means for your retirement fund, your purchasing power. And in the first stories we have from Fox Business, right on the right side, you can see the Dow Jones is down. The NASDAQ is down. The S&P 500 down. 1.5 points, 0.14, 0.93. It's scary, man. And it's frustrating and it makes me angry. What's really making me angry, I suppose, is that I've been saying for some time, as most other people have, you can't build an administration off of just hating Donald Trump. And clearly now we are seeing the proof of this. We are seeing what we get. Biden wants trillions for infrastructure, but a big hurdle will remain, spending the cash. Progressives are optimistic that the administration learned from the struggles of the 2009 stimulus and will be able to move faster. Progressives are basically saying, at a time when people are already seeing their savings stripped away, the progressives are saying, print money, effectively stealing the money of those who are responsible. Isn't that how it goes? That's what the Biden administration is doing. Remember that story I talked about, a couple of weeks ago? I've been doing some ads for it as well. There was a guy who was there. A family was selling their house, and they had some treasure hunter guy come in to try and find a case of money their grandfather had hidden in their home, and they found it. $50,000. Congratulations. The only problem, 50 or so years ago, whenever this grandfather guy took that 50 grand and put it in that case and hid it, the buying power was actually closer to $500,000 or something to that effect. That's what I read. I don't know the exact number. Think about how much value was stripped away from that money sitting in those floorboards. This old man thinking he was putting money away for a rainy day or maybe to give something to his children. In reality, every day that they printed money, they were stealing from him. And the labor he did, they stole it. That's what Biden's proposing with the infrastructure plan. Theft of those who have saved their money. Isn't that how it goes? Now, I'm not completely opposed to government programs, but when we're talking about taxes to pay for things, it's very different from them just printing money into oblivion. I will show you now what I think is the most significant result of this. Take a look at this from Newsweek. We all quit. Restaurant signs claiming staff walking out are popping up across the U.S. Photos are emerging of signs at restaurants saying that they are closed or understaffed after their employees quit. Davita Davidson shared a collection of signs on restaurant windows and said, "We're literally watching the largest labor movement in modern American history happen in the form of paper signs taped to the windows of fast food and fast casual restaurants." The problem is, with all due respect to Davita and others, they don't understand at all what is happening. You see, they've been clamoring for $15 an hour for what, a decade? $15 an hour a decade ago is probably had the buying power today of substantially more than that. Today, you probably get $20 or $25 an hour, which is why the progressives keep upping what they think we should get in minimum wage. What you're seeing with these signs, somebody worked for $10 an hour at McDonald's and they could buy themselves after 1 hour, a couple gallons of milk, some bread and eggs. Now they can buy themselves eggs and a gallon of milk. Can't get the bread. They need a raise. They go to their company and they say, "I want more money." And say, "We can't just do that," because everyone else has price expectations as well. So what happens is their buying power goes down. The business starts going down because other people, look, people who work at McDonald's got to eat and they want to go to Chipotle too, but they can't afford to anymore because Chipotle's got to raise its prices. Now they don't have the buying power to cover the cost of the beans, chicken. The regular workers can't afford to cover those costs either, and they make demands. Then along comes Joe Biden. "We're going to give you $16 an hour equivalent to not work." Now there's no more beans. Do you get it? If people aren't working to harvest the crops, if people aren't working to bring these things, to drive these things to these stores, the stores can't get them. It's not just about not getting your cheeseburger. They go on to say, one sign on a Hardee's window said, "Due to no staff, we are closed. We are hiring." While the Wendy's sign said, "We all quit, closed." A sign on a Chipotle window said, "Attention, Chipotle workers. Want to know why we are closed? Ask our corporate offices why their employees are forced to work in borderline sweatshop conditions for 8+ hours without breaks. We are overworked, understaffed, underpaid, and underappreciated. Almost the entire management and crew have walked out until further notice. People should be before profits, above profits, or greater than profits. Repost this if you agree. Help spread awareness." Twitter users responded to Davidson's post, which is more than 100,000 likes, by sharing similar photos they have spotted at their local restaurants. Kelly McCarthy shared a picture of a sign she spotted that said, "Please be patient with the staff that did show up. No one wants to work anymore." As seen in Holly Ridge, North Carolina, at a locally owned restaurant. Great food, great staff, packed restaurant. Staff deserve a living wage and benefits. All right, let's play a game. Somebody has to go to these farms and pick the crops. It's not always a machine that pulls all the carrots out of the ground like you've seen on Reddit. I've been to some of these farms in California. They have to hire farm hands and people to come and pick the crops. And they pay them, I think when I was there, this was like 5 years ago, it was being paid like they were getting like $14 an hour. So I can't imagine they're getting paid that much more. Along comes Joe Biden's unemployment, Democrats' unemployment. And don't get me wrong, Republicans voted for this stuff too. But right now it's Joe Biden saying he wants to extend this and keep it going. Now you've got someone who's like, why work for $15 an hour when I can sit at home doing whatever I want, painting pictures, playing music, singing songs, and I'll get the same amount of money. All of a sudden, no one is harvesting the crops anymore. All of a sudden, there's no more lumber. There's no steel. Chipotle then says, how do we source the chicken if people aren't working on these farms? Well, In order to incentivize people to work, they have to dramatically increase the cost of what they're paying people. And they start doing it. Then the cost of chicken starts going up. Chipotle can't afford it. So they start telling staff, we can't hire everybody. They then start laying people off. And in the end, you end up with employees who are unable to handle the workload. They then get angry. They say, I'm not getting paid enough money. And if they're not getting paid enough money, I'm not going to work in these conditions. So they quit. The stores get shut down and now there's no more food. It's all connected. It's a chain reaction. The economy is all it's all working together as one machine. We're seeing it not just at restaurants, but also Dollar General, at center of labor unrest controversy after frustrated workers walk off job in Maine, citing low wages and understaffed stores. This is the result of mass spending. It's the result of a pandemic that shut down our economy. But don't get me wrong. The virus itself didn't do this. It was panic. They said 15 days to slow the spread. Was it 15 days? No, I'm sorry. It's been over a year and still many of these places are closed down. Now, I know in a lot of places they've reopened. Red states, for the most part, never really shut down. And we can see in places like South Dakota, their economy's actually grown a little bit over the past year. The economy was slammed. You can't just shut it down. And I think they knew this. It was like watching a freight train come to a dead stop. Actually, I'll give you a good pop culture reference. Remember the movie Hancock with Will Smith? And you got Jason Bateman in the car. Maybe you've not seen it. Train's coming. And so he goes over and he flips Jason Bateman's car over. The train slams into him. But he's a superhero, right? The whole train just flips up into the air and carts go flying. Train cars go flying in the air and derailing. That's what happens with an abrupt stop. You can't just stop it like that. How do you recover it? How do you get the train back on the track? It's really difficult. What Joe Biden is doing now is ensuring that it just gets worse. Printing more money. And again, I know. There's so many other things that have been happening. It's not just the economic crisis. It's the gas shortage, now a cyber attack. Where's the FBI? Where were they to prevent these attacks? Where were they to guard our critical infrastructure? They haven't been. I think for the longest time, what we've been witnessing is that the powers that be, the wealthy elites, have been extracting as much value as they can from the system as they watch it crumble. And I think that's what Joe Biden is doing now. I think they've realized the cost of goods are skyrocketing. We are dangerously close to some kind of revolt, revolution, or civil war. Did you watch Tim Cassarell podcast last night? What did Max Kaiser say? The weekly budgeting for food is getting dangerously close to 40% for many of these workers. And when that happens, we've seen it in many other countries, revolution erupts. Because these people, they're walking off the job. So what does that mean? With hyperinflation, with the cost of goods skyrocketing, chicken, I think, was up, 11 or 12%. That means your chicken sandwich is going up another 50 cents to $1, depending on where it is. And for many people are making $10 an hour. That means they used to be able to buy that meal. They can't buy that meal now. They got to work twice as many hours. Many are saying, I'm done. I'm not making enough money at this job to keep working at this job. And again, don't get me wrong, Joe Biden's incentivizing it by giving these bonuses, this extra money. It's almost like what they're doing is on purpose. I don't know what to tell you, man, but it has me worried. Jerome Blockland says, in case you missed it, U.S. job openings rose to an all-time high in March, 8.1 million vacancies. So why aren't people taking these jobs? From the Daily Mail. Residents of Arkansas, Mississippi, Montana, South Carolina, and Alabama will lose enhanced unemployment benefits after Republican governors refused Biden's cash when he rejected calls to cut the extra $300 a week. Republican governors in 5 states are declining the $300 per week boosted unemployment benefits meant to help during the pandemic. They claim the extra money is incentivizing their citizens to stay home. Jobless residents in Arkansas, Mississippi, Montana, South Carolina, Alabama will no longer receive the extra money. Experts claim those who made $32,000 before the pandemic can now make the same or more with combined benefits from state and federal government. Our economy has come back. We have jobs aplenty, Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson said. We cannot pay extra compensation for workers to stay home. So what's going to happen to these people who have to work when they watch other people who don't have to? I can't imagine it's going to be a good thing. Think about it this way. You're in Arkansas. You're in Montana. Maybe you're in South Carolina. And they tell you, we're taking away your unemployment benefits that Biden is granting to the blue states. So you'll have to go get a job now. I mean, they should have to go get a job, but think about what this means. This is what Biden is doing. This is Biden's fault, mind you, not the Republican governors. Somebody's going to say, okay, fine. I'll go to work at Hardee's or Carl's Jr., whichever coast we're on. I don't know, I think it's Hardee's out here. And they're going to make $13 an hour. They are then going to see some New York vacationer pull in with sunglasses and pop them off and say, yo, I'll take a number one with extra sauce and a large fry and a large Coke. And that guy working behind the counter getting $13 an hour is going to look at this guy and say, where do you work? I'm on unemployment. I'm getting $16 an hour to do nothing. And what do you think that Hardee's employee is going to say? This is the problem with UBI. This idea we can just give people money. Now, of course, the UBI proponents say it would be supplemental. So when someone comes in and they're getting this bonus from a different state, thanks to Joe Biden and the Democrat governors, how will you incentivize people to take these jobs? Many of them might just leave and be like, I'll go take the free money. A lot of people might say, nah, I'll stay. The problem then is what's happening now is Joe Biden is borrowing and printing money, devaluing the currency to give to blue states to spend to extract the value of the labor in these red states. Do you see the problem? The Biden administration is going to burn this country to the ground. Maybe the night is always darkest before the dawn. Maybe things eventually get better. But you know what? Sorry if I can't say I'm convinced, because today has just been a pretty awful day. The past few days have been pretty awful days, and it's just seemingly getting worse. Outside of this, we've got natural disaster. After the pandemic comes the drought. Stark Pictures reveals California's water emergency after one of the warmest, driest springs on record. I'm not blaming Biden for this, mind you. I'm just saying, after everything we've been through, we need real leadership. We ain't getting it. We are not getting it. Look at these. This is incredible. I've been to Folsom Lake. This is mind blowing. Look at this. This is an old photo. This is they say from back a few years ago. They say a drought emergency to cover 30% of the population amid acute water supply shortages. I went there during the drought, and I remember seeing it being like, wow, look how low the water levels are. Look how low it is. Here's it now. It's just grass. These are docks. It's just grass. Again, I'm not blaming Biden for the drought, obviously. I'm just shocked to see it's like a perfect storm. So don't tell me it's a coincidence. Don't tell me it's it would have happened under Trump. Maybe. But these are Biden policies, not creating the drought, creating the immigration crisis, creating the economic crisis, escalating Middle East conflict. Joe Biden is not equipped to handle. Take a look at this. Stephen Nelson says the words Black Lives Matter have been paved over on D.C.'s 16th Street north of the White House. Mayor Bowser painted the words in a jab at then President Trump, successfully changing the topic when protesters were criticizing her. BLM usefulness is gone now, and so is the message. It was a political drive-by. They came in watching their CNN, their MSNBC. They voted for a failing administration. They voted for anyone because they hated Trump, and they've left us holding the bag. It's like a bad roommate. You're sitting there like, we gotta start working to secure and take care of this house, and they don't take care of it. And then as soon as they come in and they say, you know what, I'm not going to do anything, they're gone. We're sitting there watching the fires burn at the foundation of our home, and they go off and sit on their couch. Well, they're in the house too. They just don't care, leaving us holding the bag. Look at this. The drop from Joe Concha, the drop CNN is experiencing is profound. On Friday, not one program broke 900,000 total viewers. Primetime averaged less than 800,000. The network averaged 2.74 million in January. We're talking about more than 2/3 of the audience. No, that's like 71% of a decline for CNN. MSNBC is also in the gutter. Now, MSNBC, they're getting 1.3 million because they got a lot of old people watching. Their key demo is worse than CNN's. Fox News, of course, is still doing better than all of them. But this shows you with their viewership in massive decline, it was a political drive-by. These anti-Trump people came in. They didn't care about anything. They didn't do research. They just watched the garbage news, and they just voted to burn it down. And I could name all of the people I know, all of my friends who had no business being involved in politics because they don't care and they don't pay attention, coming out and voting for an administration that can't do anything. And they'll come out now and say, still better than Trump. No, it isn't still better than Trump. 2019, Jim Cramer, the best numbers of our lives. And they threw it all away because Orange Man bad. Well, I hope you can get by now without food or gasoline or a job, knowing that there's no mean tweets. Was it worth it? They still won't know or care. When the bill comes due to their house, they'll be left confused and they'll still blame Trump and the Republicans, and they'll still vote for the Democrats to burn the whole thing to the ground. What can I say? It's a frustrating day, isn't it? I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up tonight at youtube.com/TimCastIRL, the live show at 8 p.m. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.